Studio with three incredible guests and candidates. We've got Jocelyn Cutforth, School Board candidate, District 92. John Walters, Library candidate, Township Library candidate, and Jody Benson, Lemont School Board candidate. Thank you all for joining me. And of course, I'm just going to call him my special guest co-host, Jay Rohde, who's becoming a regular here on Mark My Words. But we're continuing the conversation about candidates, their families under attack, and I have to tell you, Jocelyn, I'm very familiar with employers going after employees, unfortunately, and you'll be learning more about that in due time. But John, library candidate, it is vicious right now out there, as you had mentioned earlier. What sort of attacks you or maybe other library candidates, what are you experiencing?
Well, personally, looking like this, nobody really does it to your face. But on social media, multiple times called a Christian nationalist book burner, and part of the evil cabal that wants to take over everything. So
yeah, it's, and they call us the extremists, and they come up with this extremist language and these adjectives, domestic terrorists, right? It's as if they have some Manhattan PR firm, coming up with these labels, because we've heard them before, right? Russia collusion, all of these things. We hear this over and over and over again. But Jody, to you, again, same question. Have you, your family, friends, have they been under attack for standing up for kids? What's the problem? Oh no, right? You're bad people for standing up for children.
So we have had or faced some of our own, issues. I don't want to get into too many details, but we've tried very hard to run a very positive campaign. We're very good people. We have mothers and veterans running for the school board for a volunteer position because we love the school, we love the community, and we want to do good. And somehow that's seen as bad. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. There have been, we have a Facebook page, and it's called the Lemont 4. If anyone would like to support us, that's where they can find us. We're trying to post as much information to inform the community of what's going on with the school, the trends that have been happening. And just recently, we are having our posts called inappropriate content, or what do you call it? We violated community standards to get them pulled.
That's right.
So I think the biggest challenge that we're facing is that they don't want the truth out there. Of course, we have our fair share of super fans that are calling us right-wing extremists and saying that we are radicalized and belong to hate groups and things like that. But the good news is we have truth on our side. Everyone in the community who knows us knows that we're good people, and we're just here, like I said, to do good.
To do good. And, one of the things that I want to talk about as well is the test scores, student test scores dropping like a rock. And in Chicago, for example, because it's just the easiest example of far left progressive leadership or lack thereof, 10,000 students, CPS students, haven't returned since the pandemic. How can you lose 10,000 students? That's question number one. Question number two is they are falling so far behind in math and reading. And we would just think that this is just Chicago. This isn't happening anywhere else. But it's also happening in school districts across the state and in school districts in affluent communities. And it's not just in the black and brown communities. Mm-hmm. It's everywhere. And so my question, and I'm not going to forget about you, John, because I've got other questions as well, but if you want to chime in, please. But my question is, how do we right this ship so that our students are well prepared to go out into the workforce, whether after high school or college or after, further graduate degrees?
I can speak from a teacher's point of view. I think one of the best things we can do is to actually listen to the teachers, take their input in to decision making. I know as a teacher, a lot of times we're not asked anything, or we're just asked maybe, what do you think of this curriculum? And we might say one or two words and that's it. And then all of a sudden, well, here, this is what we're doing. Or the state says this, so this is what we're doing. Or nobody asked us anything and we have to do this. And we can tell you what's working and what's not working in our classroom. We can tell you how our students are learning best, what works for them. We know that they don't need to learn 8 different strategies of doing one math problem. By teaching 8 different ways to do math, the kids aren't having enough time to learn 1 or 2 strategies that might actually work, so they're not mastering it. And a lot of the times, things are just handed down to teachers. We don't get a say, usually. We're just expected to do, and then because everything is apparently research-based, and then they hand it off, and then, well, the research is showing that it's not working, so what's the next step? We can tell you what's going to work and what's not going to work. And so I think our school boards need to do a much better job of actually asking the teachers, maybe going back to the state and saying, you know what, for our school, for these classrooms, our teachers are telling us this isn't going to work, or at least give us a time frame. You want to try this new material, this new way of teaching, 87 different ways to do one problem. All right, let's try it for a school year. If test scores don't raise, then we need to go